Yeah.
That's 6 man days of food right there. All that, to my amazement, fits into one of those bear boxes.
What are you
And then
prepping for?
I think we're going back to Baffin Island in the summer. If you get your act together in time, you can get your stuffed snowmobile much closer to the peak. But I thought that you could do that in May, which I'm pretty sure you could 10 years ago.
Okay.
And I spoke to the guy like 2 weeks ago, and he's like, no, bro, you need to get it here like April.
Oh,
And flying stuff up there is takes time, you know, to ship it from the UK to the middle of nowhere in Baffin Island. It's like minimum 2 weeks. Expedited shipping is like the economy is a month. And so like 2 weeks ago, I spoke to the guy and I was like, okay, so if I get my shit together, I can possibly do this, but it's kind of ambitious to pack everything for a fairly major expedition, wall climbing in the middle of nowhere for over a month in 2 weeks, alongside everything else that you've already got going on. But I think I'm going to pull it off. I was up till 3 a.m. this morning, packing all the climbing gear, going through the aid rack. I'm not really friends with my aid rack. I'm taking this bag of hardware all around the world and I hardly ever use it. But when you do need it, even if it's just for a couple of pitches, you know, you need it. And you can't just bring like a few pegs and a few blades. You need like a fairly comprehensive, not like a full-on L-Cat wall rack, but, you know, maybe a quarter of that, which is a lot. It's like 10 kilos more, 15 kilos of ironware. And I hardly ever use it, but you need it. And I had to dig all that out last night. And I was looking at all the beaks and blades and, oh God, how many of these should I bring? And I think I placed about 5 copperheads in my life, but I always end up with like 10 of them on the rack. And hammers and chisels and all this, you know, this heavy stuff that you often don't use, because if you know, obviously we're always trying to free climb.
Right.
Sometimes you have to aid climb features to, you know, start figuring it out. Anyway, it's all good.
Do you enjoy the logistics side of these adventures? I mean, you've signed yourself up for a life of lots of logistics and planning. Do you enjoy that side of it, or is it just the necessary evil to get to the actual thing?
No, I quite enjoy the logistics. It's a bit rushed this time. On other occasions, when you've got loads of time, I really enjoy it, because you can really take your time and geek out on the gear and refine your systems. And, you know, like that, for example, it's harder than you would imagine. The food for an expedition. Right now, I've got 35 days worth of food for 3 people here. So that's 105 man days of food. So, you know, that's food for one person for over 3 months. Like, wow. Think about everything that you're going to consume with no chance of resupply for one person for 3 months, or 3 people for 1 month, a bit more. And it's a lot. You know, you've got to really like make sure you don't screw it up, because you can't resupply. It's like game over if you run out of whatever, toilet roll, or you get the calorific intake wrong. I'm a bit gripped this time. I think I'm pretty good with low amounts of food, but one of the guys, actually Wilson, you know Wilson.
Oh yeah.
He's an eater. So I'm a bit worried he's going to get tweaky on these rations. We've got like 3,000 calories coming in at just under 700 grams, which is good. That's like really good. Not all non-perishable food.
Quick question about the food. When you're planning food for, you know, this many people for this long, do you think at all about macronutrients, micronutrients, any of that stuff, or is it just calories, easy, light calories, perishable, non-perishable?
No, it depends on the trip. Like on polar trips, yeah, definitely you think about it in more detail, particularly fat and protein intake. And fat's the hardest one, actually, because calories,
it's heavy.
You can really get, because sugar's the easiest way to get calories, obviously, and that just doesn't work. It's not what you need at all. So yeah, and especially on polar trips when it's really cold and you're out for multiple months, it becomes really important. And you sometimes take supplements as well, vitamins and electrolytes and protein drinks and all that kind of stuff. But this is only a month, which is quite long. And it does change, when you're out for like a weekend, it doesn't matter what you do. If you're out for a week, then again, it doesn't really matter if you're nutrient deficient or you haven't got enough fat for a week. But once you start getting into months, it really does. And once you get into multiple months, when you get into like 2-3 month expeditions, you really have to consider that in more detail. To be honest, this time it's not that well considered because it's been such a rush. But thankfully, I have done this enough times before, so I've got a vague idea of what works and what doesn't.
I'm just kind of sitting here marveling at the amount of beta knowledge that you have amassed over your lifetime of adventure climbing. For me, it's like I know lots of tricks about projecting boulder problems and sport routes and like the minutia of actually the rock climbing, which of course you have that too, but then thinking about things on all these other levels and all the knowledge about tastiest food and all that sort of stuff is just kind of mind-blowing. It's great.
I do dig it, man. I really enjoy being out there. And when you get really far out, what I particularly like is when you have a base camp that's relatively comfortable, somewhere extremely inaccessible. So you just have this little bastion that's kind of safe and comfortable, relatively speaking. And then you can launch your projects from there. And there's just something special about being far away. And I really like that kind of that commitment that comes with somewhere basically that you can't get to by road, where there's no vehicle access. We're so dependent on vehicles, and they're wonderful. You just take for granted how many crash pads and ropes and all the rest of it that you can fit in a vehicle, and then you can jump in the car and go to the store and buy some more stuff. But when you take that out the equation and you've got like no hydrocarbon support on your mission, you're just walking, and all the stuff you're going to need. And like I say, once you start getting into weeks and months, just tiny little things like, moisturizer, hand cream, the first aid kit, but not like the life-saving stuff, just the little things like I've had it. Expeditions can be ruined by something as simple as chapped lips, or a blister. If it starts to get really severe, which living outside these things can, it can sink your ship. Whereas if you've got whatever hydrocortisone cream or some lip balm, or even something as simple as a fresh pair of socks or some soap so you can wash your socks, it can change it from being like a hellish experience to quite a heavenly one, really.